have a 2021 Triumph Tiger 850, and today we'll go through how to change the oil. All through, this should only take about 10, maybe 15 minutes to get the oil changed, drained, and then back on your way. So the very first thing, obviously, we'll want our drain pan underneath. That way we actually have somewhere for the oil to go. So the oil pan is underneath the skid plate, and unlike most other motorcycles or even vehicles, it's not a bolt. It's actually a Allen wrench that you'll need. So we use that in order to loosen the bolt so we can get the oil out of the drain pan. And here's the super exciting part, actually watching me unscrew this and getting the oil out of the drain pan. And of course, I didn't pick the right Allen key at the very first, so trial and error, I guess, until I got it right. There we go. A little bit snug. The other thing to mention is you'll always want to get a new bolt washer. You don't want to reuse that washer. I've seen that when you do, at times you can actually cause oil leaks. So always get a new washer. They're maybe 35 cents, 40 cents, something like that. So definitely well worth it. What I'm doing here is getting tin foil and wrapping that around all the pipes. So when I take the oil filter out, that I'm not having to clean up the oil off the exhaust. So it'll make things a lot easier. Just take the tin foil off after you're finished and you're good to go. So now I'm just taking the oil filter out right now, and obviously there's going to be quite a bit of oil still left there, which is why I have the tin foil. So pretty neat trick that saves a ton of time and effort, so you're not having to do a lot of cleanup after you're finished with the oil change. Or you don't have to worry about a bunch of smoke coming off the exhaust pipes. So as you can see, the oil is pretty dirty, so it's a good thing that I started changing it now and didn't wait till later. Just unscrew that entire thing and then let everything drain down into the pan. So at this point I'll just let this drain just for a minute, and then I will just take a small cloth and wipe around the edges and clean up as much oil as I can. So once that's finished, what I typically will do is just a little bit of oil I'll put into the oil receptor here and just drain out as much of the older oil as possible, just getting as many contaminants out of the system as possible. So this is the oil that's actually recommended by Triumph for Triumph Tigers. I think pretty much for all of their lines, but for the Tiger Triumph specifically. So I'll just dump not even half a quart through and just make sure that everything's coming out clean, that I don't see any old oil or any residue, anything that would be draw concern, especially anything like metal flakes or anything like that. That's huge problems if you see anything metal in your oil. The oil filter that I am using here is a K&M. This actually is a filter that Triumph themselves say do not use. They told me a couple times that the K&Ms actually will sometimes fuse together and be overheated, which will cause the oil filter to fuse into the bike itself. So they actually recommend do not use the K&Ns, actually use the part from Triumph themselves. So I've never had any problems, but just so you're aware, there is, at least the mechanics at Triumph has said, do not use what I'm using here. So major disclaimer, definitely use what Triumph is saying to use. So this next part, what I'm doing is putting a little bit of oil around the gasket. This will help the oil filter really stay attached and have a good seal to the bike. So this next part is truly optional. What I'm doing here is just adding oil to, very slaply adding oil to the oil filter. That way when the bike starts, it already has oil in the oil filter. Nothing is being cold started. So I do this pretty much on all my vehicles, whether it's a bike or any other vehicle. I'm adding oil to the oil filter. So now, just about the last part of the oil change is installing the oil filter. So you want to tighten and you should be good. Basically the seal is there, you won't have to worry about it coming undone. And now just clean up. So very easily take off the tin foil. Cleaning up some of the excess oil that may have dropped down off the tin foil. Bike's a little bit dirty, as you can see here. I've had some fun, a little bit off-road. At this point what we'll do is make sure that the drain plug is installed and then add our oil to the bike, and pretty much at that point we're good to go. Triumph is very specific in the oil that's required, so make sure it's the Racing 4T 10W40. These are pretty high performance engines, so making sure that we want to use the oil specified by Triumph. That's our window, so that's a window that when the bike is level, not on the kickstand but level, you can see there's a full tab. You want to make sure that your oil is at that level, and truly you want to check your oil levels, I'd say every few weeks, maybe every month or so, just to make sure that you're not burning a lot of oil. I've seen where people have come and taken their bikes into the shop and they had little or no oil at all. So definitely make sure you're checking that as routine maintenance. So one other thing that to point out is unlike most other motorcycles or automobiles, you actually have to bring the bike into Triumph to have them turn off the annoying wrench. Unless you have a key yourself, Triumph will do it for free. Just bring it up to the dealership, tell them you did your own oil change, you need them to reset the key. They'll do that for you free of charge, no problem at all. So the last thing that I do is turn on the bike actually and then check for any leaks. Mostly cautionary. We've already tightened everything down. We already know that everything's tight, but I just like to double check, make sure that nothing's leaking at all. That's it. Now let's go ride.